Hello, I will be doing a literary criticism of Eldorado by Edgar Allan Poe. I'll begin by reading the poem. Gaily bedight, a gallant knight, in sunshine and in shadow, had journeyed long, singing a song, in search of Eldorado. But he grew old, this knight so bold, and o'er his heart a shadow fell as he found no spot of ground that looked like Eldorado. And as his strength failed him at length, he met a pilgrim shadow. Shadow, said he, where can it be, this land of Eldorado? Over the mountains of the moon, down the valley of the shadow. Ride, boldly ride, the shade replied, if you seek Eldorado. So, in this poem, what is Eldorado? What did Edgar Allan Poe mean to represent? Could it possibly be the idea of happiness in one's life, something that people always search for but never quite seem to completely find? Could it be wealth? It seems like no matter how wealthy we as people are, we are constantly wanting more, and we never feel like we've achieved or found wealth. It could be power as well. I look at the life of Hitler. He was very successful in having a massive amount of power in Germany, but yet that wasn't enough. He felt like he did not find complete power, and he wanted to take over the world. Could it be maybe a life of ease? A lot of us search for a life of ease and try to do what we can, but we never quite seem to attain a complete life of ease with which we're happy. So maybe it's all of these. Maybe it's a perfect world where, and that's why I've entitled it Utopia. Maybe we are constantly searching for that, but can never quite find what we're looking for. So, what's the moral of this poem? What did Edgar Allan Poe really want us to get from this poem? How should this poem change our life? So, first of all, I'd like to talk about Poe's life a little bit. He had a rough life. His parents died. He was born to some carnival travelers, and they died. And so somebody else took him in, and he had a lot of disappointments throughout his life and shattered dreams. One of those being he returned to his hometown to find his longtime sweetheart engaged to another man, and just a lot of things that did not work out the way he had hoped. And when he wrote this poem, he was getting closer to the end of his life, and he was beginning to realize that death is coming. And he had worked his life to be famous, and maybe his poem came out of that, where he was realizing that what he was chasing his entire life was not necessarily attainable. It was always over the next mountain, always out there, but he was never quite able to find that, and he was nearing death, and hence that could be why he wrote this poem. But I think the main moral of the story is we know that Eldorado is unattainable. It's always out there a little bit further away. Whatever Eldorado represents, it's just we can never quite get there. And also, many people live their entire lives in a fruitless pursuit, always pursuing something, never happy with what they have, always seeking something out there, as this knight did. He journeyed long, and he began to grow old, and the middle stanza says, "And o'er his heart a shadow." As we come to realization about our deaths, we might not have attained what we really wanted. So another alternative meaning that I thought about, in history, the Spanish conquistadors were constantly out there searching for an actual city called Eldorado, that it was a city of gold that the indigenous people had told them about, a city just full of gold. And so many conquistadors lost their lives in the search for Eldorado, and maybe he was just kind of poking some fun at these Spanish and making fun of them. That's another possibility. So thank you for watching this video, and I enjoyed this poem.